जयपुर वाया कोटा।
कृपया ध्यान आपो अहमदाबाद
दिल्ली में आपका स्वागत.
Lucknow Junction.
ನಿಲ್ದಾಣದ ಕಡೆಗೆ ಹೊರಟಿರುವರೆ
Hyderabad Bhattacharjya Express পরবর্তী স্টেশন নেতাজি ভবন कृपया ध्यान दियो
We're in for a Monday night special, aren't we? We've got two teams that are neck and neck with hardly anything separating both the sides, but unfortunately for all the wrong reasons. But look, that doesn't take away from the fact that we're looking forward to a special tonight. And speaking of all things special, you're watching Cricbuzz Live. I'm Anubhav Jain, and with me are two gentlemen who, just like the two teams, have a thing or two in common, but the right things in common. Two Cricbuzz veterans, two people who say it how they see it, and last but certainly not the least, two men who are tall and handsome. Simon Doull, Joy Bhattacharjya. If that isn't a grand welcome, I don't know what is.
I'm glad you didn't say we're languishing at the bottom and above. Thank you very much, much like the two teams tonight. But no, great to be back in my first show with Joy and yourself. So looking forward to the night, even though and these are two teams to me that, you know, I had Delhi in my top 4 and a lot of people had Hyderabad in their top 4. So, you know, we've got a lot to discuss about why and what and how it's gone wrong for them.
Absolutely, a lot to discuss. But, you know, before we discuss everything that Simon mentioned, it's an auspicious day because it's the birthday of a man who turns 50, Sachin Tendulkar, the little master, celebrates his 50th birthday. Joyda, you know, another milestone, another feather in his cap.
Yeah, I mean, you would think that, you know, he's retired it's almost been about 10, 11 years now. Still the amount of thrall in which he holds India. And that's because for 20 years he carried us. I mean, I was in college when he started his cricket career. I halfway through the time he was playing, I was actually producing matches in which he was playing. After that, by the time he ended, I was working on a franchise, looking at him on the other side. So he's literally, for so many Indians, he's been a part of their lives, 24 years of international cricket. So that's such a huge thing. So him not being there, and he's not there. How many times do you see a retired player be on the cover on his 50th birthday of every newspaper in the country today? I mean, how often does it happen?
There's just one like him.
Yeah, that's the status, isn't it? And I think it's not only the status that he holds in the cricketing world, but I just think, you know, whenever you see Sachin, it's that quiet voice, that very polite, gentlemanly character that he has. And to be involved, I mean, he doesn't need to sit in that dugout at Mumbai. He doesn't need to do anything. He could go off and play golf every day of the week and live a life of luxury wherever he wanted to live it in the world. But he chooses to live in Mumbai. He chooses to give back. He chooses to raise his family here. He chooses all of these things because that's the sort of human being he is. And you know, as Joy said, celebrated throughout the land, but celebrated throughout the cricketing world. I think that's the key. When you look at the messages and the messages of support and happy birthdays that have come from around the world, it just shows you the status that he's held. And I think that's, you know, if you can end your career and be held in that regard, you've done something right.
I'll tell you a funny story. I was producing the program for ESPN Star Sports for his 30th birthday. And, you know, it's Ravi Shastri's interviewing him. So Harsha Bhogle and Ravi Shastri, you had two interviewers and one Sachin. Sachin's 30th birthday. Big thing. And what was happening is once the interview started, our last shot was we'd actually cut the cake and, you know, Ravi would feed Sachin. It's a very Indian thing.
Yeah.
Okay. So I shoot that show that day, Ray Hume, the producer, and me, my executive producer and me, and I take the tape that night, go to Singapore to edit. Now, on the edit table, they're all Britishers, okay? And they're saying, what is this shot about a guy being fed cake? And I said, okay, I'll put it in, fighting all of you, but on the 24th, this was shot on the 22nd, on the 24th of April, okay, see the picture that they use in India. That was the one picture that was there, Ravi Shastri feeding Sachin cake. And I said, that's Sachin Tendulkar. It's important enough for the nation.
Absolutely. You know, there's a quote from him, which is, people throw stones at you and you convert the stones into milestones. You know, he did that for 24 years, as you mentioned, on the field. And now he's continuing to do that off the field as well. You know, before we get down to business, I think we ought to thank our styling partners, H&M, for making us look sharp. H&M, the one-stop shop for all things fashion, meets Cricbuzz Live, the one-stop shop for all things cricket in digital. So H&M, thank you so much for making us look sharp. And I think Hyderabad and Delhi need a bit of H&M because they ain't looking too sharp so far this season. Joy, if we look at the points table, Hyderabad languishing in 9th position, Delhi as well in 10th position. So both teams have lots of causes for concern, don't they?
Absolutely. And I think it comes at the root. One of the things that's happened is if you look at this tournament, you've had to have Indian players perform to get through because finally you have 7 Indian players and 4 international players. And if your Indian players don't get going, all the team, so Indian players are not doing well. So they're exactly stuck out there. Prithvi Shaw, who's supposed to give them so much, Sarfaraz up there had so much hopes for. Their Indian batting is not functioning for them. Manish Pandey is not giving them enough. Hyderabad has the same problem. Their Indian bowling, they have a lot of good Indian bowlers. Bhuvi's not looked the same. Natarajan has not looked the same. Washington Sundar has not given them that much. And their batting has not given them yet. So I think that's a problem. You have to solve. For teams to win consistently, the Indian players have to perform.
And none of these teams are bad. You look at that. As I said, you look at the rosters. I had Delhi in the top 4. I thought they were a good side on paper, but the game's not played on paper. Hyderabad, very similar. I mean, a lot of people had them in their top 4. So it just shows you how tough this tournament is. And I think that's the key to it. They're not bad teams. You still look at that sheet of paper and you think, gee, how are they not winning games?
Yeah.
But the bottom line is you have to be at your best in this competition. And Joy's so right. Look, the international players put the icing on the cake. The Indian players, they mix the dough. They add the flour and the water and they mix the dough. But the international players put the icing on the cake. And if they're not performing, if the dough's sort of gone off and it doesn't rise, you're no good.
Absolutely. I mean, as both of you said, both teams are dealing with plenty of problems. But if I had to put you on the spot, which team has the bigger problems? In other words, which team is the shorter of the two dwarfs?
Gosh, I hate to say it, but I think Delhi are at the moment, the way they're going, and I just don't know. I don't see too much of a road out for them unless David Warner really crack. If that last innings for me was the catalyst for David Warner to kick on in this season, then all well and good. But I think they, to me, look the side that are probably in more trouble.
Yeah, look, if you look at Hyderabad, they lost 2, then they had 2 very convincing wins. Mm-hmm. And after that, they've gone back into old habits. They're a bit of an up and down team. Yeah. And I think that's what Hyderabad gives to you. They still don't have the consistency. And my biggest problem with them is I don't think they're clear about what their philosophy of coaching is. And I'll be very honest with you. Brian Lara is a great, he's one of the greatest players who's ever played the game. I just want to know where Brian Lara has coached. And I'm asking, it's an honest question because coaching involves a lot of things other than knowing about the game. It involves managing players. It involves understanding players, listening to them. Great coaches are great listeners. They listen to people. It involves building a support staff who you trust. And I'm not saying Brian Lara is good or bad at it. I just don't know whether he's ever done it before.
And look, you're not wrong. I mean, Dale Steyn, very similar. It's a very new role for Dale as well in the last couple of years. One of the greatest we've ever seen with the ball in hand. Brian, one of the greatest we've ever seen with the bat in hand. But this is a different league. This is the best league in the world. I keep saying it. Outside of a World Cup, it's the toughest T20 competition in the world, hands down, without fail. And you bring a rookie coach in just because he was a great player. And this is a bit of an issue that Sunrisers or Hyderabad have had, I think, in the last few years. They've been a star-struck type franchise where the wrong people are making cricket decisions. Yeah. You need cricket people making cricket. Getting rid of Tom Moody was the biggest mistake they made. Yeah. Cricket people make cricket decisions, and they make the right cricket decisions. As soon as you start putting people in charge who have not a clue about cricket, but they have all the money, and they want control. And I understand that when you pay a fortune for a team and you pay money every week, you want your team, you want to have your say. This is not your business. Cricket's not your business. Cricket's your investment. Let cricket people make cricket decisions. And if you start doing that, you'll be better off.
Yeah, I think both teams can probably seek comfort from the fact that misery loves company. So at least, they have company in the form of the other, but definitely not looking good for either side. Delhi Capitals have won the toss in this encounter that's going to be played in Hyderabad, and they will be batting first. We'll take a look at Delhi's starting 11 first. And we have David Warner, Mitch Marsh. Big news. No Prithvi Shaw in this lineup. Delhi batting first. So this is the batting 11. We don't see Prithvi Shaw. Manish Pandey, Phil Salt, the wicketkeeper. Sarfaraz Khan, Aman Khan, Akshar Patel, Ripal Patel. That's the second change in addition to Sarfaraz Khan coming in for this encounter. Ishant Sharma, Kuldeep Yadav, Andit Nokia. And the 4 overseas players complete in the starting 11. Now moving on to the Hyderabad, before we actually move on to the Hyderabad 11, I think let's discuss some of these changes because these are noteworthy changes. No Prithvi Shaw, he's had like a horror showing so far this season. But Ricky Ponting had mentioned that, he expects Prithvi Shaw to deliver the goods this season. He expects him to be the real Prithvi Shaw, but I'm guessing no surprises given his recent form.
You can't just continue down the same road. If things aren't working, you have to change it up. And he has to understand that where he's at in his game, it's just not good enough. I mean, there was an incident, the David Warner, the run-out situation in Bangalore. Now, he'd sat on his backside on the bench the whole of the bowling innings, right? Done nothing. He came out and was lazy with a run when David Warner wanted two, and then he got out the next ball. He got run out himself the next ball. If he'd have taken the two that David Warner wanted, he wouldn't have been on strike and he wouldn't have been run out. There's little things in the game that come back to haunt you at times. Now, he's had a poor season. I don't think he's overly fit. I don't think he's really adjusted his game as such, and he's paid the price. So I think that they had to do something. Safra's a good choice. Phil Salt, look, there's no guarantee he's going to have success tonight, but he can play. He seriously can play. He loves the quick bowling. He will run at the spinners. He's a keeper, so he tends to read the spinners quite well. And I think that's a good change. Ripple Patel, so they're bringing an all-rounder, seam bowling all-rounder there. That's another, I think it's a good option. Ishant keeps his place after a good performance the other day. So, again, you look at that on paper and you think, geez, a strong look inside. How can they not win? Why are they not winning?
Yeah, Joy, what do you reckon? Prithvi Shaw not there. Simon spoke about his complacency.
I think completely justified. See, there's some things that are in your hands. So you cannot guarantee that you're going to, bat every time or get runs every time. But you can guarantee that you will be fit.
Yeah.
Unless you have injury.
Yeah.
Okay. You can guarantee that your fitness on the field will be a particular level. Nobody expects you to look like a Greek god.
No.
But you need to be fit. At this point in time, Prithvi is looking unfit, and to be continually substituted as a player when fielding, it's an insult. If you're a player worth your salt, you should take it as a slap in my face and say, what, I'm not good enough to field? Because if you're not good enough to field, the only international tournament of any level you'll play is the IPL. Because you can't go for the country and get an impact substitute, right? So then you're telling yourself that I'm happy only playing the IPL. And that's the story. He has to look at that very carefully, and I'm glad they've sat him down because I am huge on Prithvi Shaw.
Yeah.
I think he's a generational talent. The ability to hit good balls for six, bat speed, the timing, everything is unbelievable.
Yeah.
But he needs to sort his head out.
Yeah.
There's no denying the talent is there. Just quickly, I mean, I know I spoke about this years ago on the show with Shubman and Prithvi, but you look at the direction their two careers have taken. After that Under-19 World Cup now, Prithvi went from there to there really quickly, but then he's fallen off the radar. Shubman has just continued to rise, and the difference in the talent at that stage wasn't huge. It wasn't huge, and it probably still, talent-wise, it's not huge, but just one guy wants it a little bit more and is prepared to work for it, and the other one at the moment is just not finding a way to work hard enough for it, I don't think.
Yeah, but who knows? This moment might just end up being a watershed moment for someone like a Prithvi Shaw. As both of you mentioned, this might just force him to look at himself in the mirror and do some soul searching. We'll let Prithvi do his soul searching for the time being. We'll take a look at Hyderabad's starting 11. Hyderabad bowling first in this match. Mayank Agarwal up top, Harry Brook, Aiden Markram, Heinrich Klaasen, Washington Sundar, Abhishek Sharma, Marco Jansen, T. Natarajan, the one change, Bhuvneshwar Kumar, Mayank Markande, Umran Malik. So they've got a couple of Mayanks, right? Mayank Agarwal, Mayank Markande. We don't see Rahul Tripathi in the starting 11 because they're bowling first, but we expect him to come in the second innings when they're batting. But Doull, balanced squad. Happy with what you see?
I mean, I worry about their options. I guess that's the one thing, and I don't want to be sort of continually critical, but Mayank, I mean, how many opportunities? Played over 100 and what's he played? 119 IPL games. He averages 22. Strike rate's okay in the early 130s, but over that many games, when you bat 1, 2, and 3, you just have to be better. And he's had a lot of opportunities, so he is another one to me that's running out of chances. It's a good-looking side if he gets going at the top. If Tripathi comes in, that's fine. But they've got to do the job with the ball first up. And, we heard from the pitch report around about that 180, I think they talked about.
Yeah.
And their bowling, which has always been a Hyderabad strength. The Indian bowling has always been a Hyderabad strength. And then you threw in Rashid. That's their problem. I like Mayank Markande. I think that's a good selection for me, Joy.
No, absolutely. I like Mayank Markande, but he's right. They don't have the enforcer ball anymore. Rashid was the enforcer. come over 6th, 7th, or sometimes even the 5th over, Rashid comes on, he gives a different complexion to the match. They don't have that enforcer. So what happens if Bhuvi goes, if Bhuvi bowls well up front, still they have a chance of controlling.
Yeah.
The second thing is that what was their formula? When they made this team, the formula was Bhuvi bowls up front. It's Natarajan at the death.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, Natti is not doing well enough for them. So, only Jansen is the only bowler who's performing up to par. And that's a big, big worry for them. They would have wanted to be in a situation where perhaps they can say that, we drop Jansen and get Adil Rashid in, who's also an excellent player. But they can't afford to do it because their Indian pacers are not working.
Yeah.
And at some point, the other thing I want to know is that when they do bat, okay, this team, clearly Brian Lara had said that Abhishek Sharma is going to open up front with
Harry Brook.
With Harry Brook.
Yeah.
In which case, I think Mayank Agarwal, where they're placing him right now, may be out of position.
Exactly. In fact, he mentioned a couple of days back that they'll be using Mayank Agarwal as a floater for the next few games at least,
Right.
So they'll let this experiment run. They'll see what the results are like and then probably change
either an
things.
experiment or just make him go out there and get a strike rate. So make him bat at 6 or 7 and say, okay, your job is to just go out there and finish it off. Because he can play spin. He can play spin quite well. He uses his feet well. So, he can finish an innings off as well. But you force him to a position where he just has to go and has to swing. And maybe that might be the making of him. He might be that guy that can get you 25 of 7 or 8 balls at the back end without that pressure of opening the batting. So I'd rather, if he's not going to bat 1 or 2, rather than float, I'd rather see him down at 6 and say, that's your job. Finish off the innings and see how you go there.
And it can't get any worse than what it already is. You spoke about Bhuvneshwar Kumar. You spoke about some of the other Indian pacers in that Hyderabad 11. Bhuvi, he's been a slight cause for concern so far this season. He's picked up the same number of wickets in the power play as he did last season, but it's come at the cost of his economy. Do you think that's a fair trade?
Look, I just think he's not the bowler he was last year. I felt last year he was a comeback year. He was doing well. He got back from his back injury. He's just missing a little something out there. And I don't know what it is, whether it's the surfaces, because they were playing in single matches, either in Mumbai and then moving to Chennai at that point in time. I don't know whether it's that's impacting him, whether he's enjoying bowling here or in other conditions. But Bhuvi's not looked the same, and he's very vital for them. And to be honest with you, vital for India as well, because he's the seam bowler India looks up front to take wickets. And he's just not looking the part at this point in time.
I will say one little thing on that, and I agree with Joy. He's not quite the bowler that we normally see. But this impact player, this substitute rule, has lengthened batting lineups. So guys and batters are going harder. We're seeing higher power play scores. I think this is the second highest since 2018 of power play scores in the whole entire 14, 15 years of the tournament. So teams are going harder because their batting depth is lengthened. So I think that strike rates inside that power play will be higher. Therefore, scores will be higher. Therefore, all of that just extends to bowlers, just being a little more expensive as well. Outside of Siraj, I think there's a lot of bowlers who have been a little more expensive this year than perhaps they have been. So that's just a little side note to what we're seeing. Yes, I don't think he's at his best, like Joy said, but I do believe with the batting lineups lengthening and the impact player, substitute player, call it what you like, it has made a difference to the scores in the power play as well, I think, Joy.
I totally agree. And it's a brilliant point, because if you look at it, suppose I go in with 6 established batsmen. Okay? Now I go in with 7.
Yeah.
That's a 16.
And my all-rounders at 8.
Yep, exactly. And that's a 16.67% difference. That's a serious difference in the ability of a team. So impact player is working. And the interesting thing is, it's working better for the batting than it is for the bowling, because it should give you more bowling options.
Yeah.
But it's not working that well for the bowling, because the batsmen are benefiting more from taking more risks because there's more batting to follow.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Since we're talking about impact players, the one other thing that the impact player rule has done is prolong the careers of a few of the veterans, the experienced pros. And I think Ishant Sharma is definitely one of them. We saw his heroics against Kolkata in the previous match. Went for just 19 in his 4 overs, picking up 2 wickets. But along with a veteran like Ishant Sharma, you've got other names as well, Mohit Sharma, Amit Mishra, and all the other names that you see on the list. All of them have surely been drinking from the fountain of youth that you guys have been drinking from.
He's been drinking.
Hey, look, it's great, isn't it? I think it will extend careers. And if you're a spin bowler in particular, you can go a little bit longer. I think it'll extend some batting careers. I look at a player like Bhattacharjya and Ajinkya Rahane. It could extend their careers a little longer, because from a batting point of view, if your team bowls first, you just sit out, you sit on the bench, and And sort of what I'd like to see is a bullpen. I'd love to see a bullpen side where you can just sit in there and hit rather than having to go out to the net. So that's something that needs to come into the game. But you can sit out, you can go and bat, and then once you're out, you're done. Your day's over. Bowling point of view, you're still going to have to make sure from a seamer's job, you're going to have to be bowling fit. But the spinners, I think it has.
I mean, Amit Mishra just come in, roll in, bowl 14th over, quick substitution out. And the funniest part was, I remember when started the IPL, when Wasim Akram was there, he used to look very longingly and said, I can bowl 4 overs still.
Yeah.
So if they have, players like that, you say that, I'll bowl the first 4 overs. By over 7, I'm subbed, I'm out. But in 4 overs, he would have done his job for you,
So that's somewhere where, for me, Narayan might end up. Just because he can still bowl, right? I mean, last night he didn't have his best night, but he's a bit slow in the field. The batting's not what it once was. He could prolong his career for the next 2 or 3 years just as a bowler, and he could be subbed in and out.
Absolutely. I was saying, Bilkul, you have become so used to Hindi shows these last few days.
It's fine. I give a bit of a Tora.
His Hindi is not bad.
Exactly. Probably better than mine. But Faf being another example, Doull, you talked about the fact that you can quite literally go there, hit a few shots, have an impact, and then come back. And that's pretty much what Faf's been doing these last couple of
games. When you're carrying
games.
a little niggle, that's another opportunity. And he's carrying a little niggle. He's got one of his 6-pack is torn, and it's a 6-pack. One of those is torn, or he's got a little adductor strain or something along those lines. So he's struggling with that. But the fact that he can actually bat and then go off the field, and they have Virat there to captain the side is a real bonus for him. I don't know that I've seen him bat better, Joy. He's been phenomenal of late.
Absolutely. And not only that, you look at him, consistency, the 2 most consistent batsmen are Warner and him. But there's a 25, 30-point difference in their strike rate. Because he's giving you the same consistency, the same riskless batting. But look at his strike rate. It is absolutely incredible. But that's a very interesting thing. And I'm actually really glad, I was talking with Simon before the match, that we have this rule. Because the truth of it is, in many ways, this rule has been followed for many, many years in the IPL. Guys come and stay and suddenly have a strain and walk off the field, and somebody else. Look, now you are officially doing it. Okay, I'm not going to field. Fab is not going to field. Let him not field. Let's not take. Before this used to just have. I mean, the players like Anukul Ray have been.
Mumbai rorted the system. They absolutely rorted the system for 10 years with Anukul Roy. Whoever it was would just go on and bowl. Early days it was Munaf or someone like that, and then it would be Malinga or someone, and then all of a sudden Anukul Roy. Malinga's got a little strain, but he'll be back next game. He's fine. It's like, please come on. So now we're just doing it legitimately, and it's okay.
Absolutely. So, we're seeing lots of paragons of age is just a number, just like the two of you are as well, paragons of this fact. David Warner, I think we ought to talk about him because he's playing against his former franchise. It's a homecoming for him, a homecoming of sorts, coming back to Hyderabad, a city where he's loved a lot. And after that, the rancorous fallout that he had with the Hyderabad franchise, I'm guessing all eyes will be on David Warner today.
It's a tough one for him, isn't it? I mean, great to come back to Hyderabad. Didn't get an opportunity to say goodbye. So this is all sort of nice stuff. He's saying the right things. Excited to be back. All of the right things he's saying because they loved him.
Yeah.
They absolutely loved him in Hyderabad. He was their guy. And, and I know Kane Williamson is loved in India, but David Warner was above Kane Williamson as a loved player at Hyderabad. So he knows the surface. He knows the place very well. I think he'll be fine. He just needs to show a little bit more intent, I think, for mine.
Also, I want to say something that if you look at David Warner's career, he comes to Delhi. He first came to Delhi, then he comes to Hyderabad. That's where he wins. And then he and Shikhar Dhawan built this partnership. But David has not been the most popular player in Australia. The press is quite divided on him because he's a personality who's polarizing. Okay, but Hyderabad is the one place that has given him unconditional love for the years he was here. Those 3-4 years. So it's really important to him. And therefore, for whatever it's worth, he did not want to go. Okay, and that's the one thing that, we talk a lot in this studio about PTP, point to prove. I think he has a point to prove. And his strike rate is not there, but, it also could be because he's not got any support on the other end.
Yeah, I mean, we know from Harsha Bogle's career that Hyderabad love a controversial person. We know that, don't we? We know that.
Harsha, are you watching there? Are you watching, Harsha?
But look, he's, he did. I mean, that was where he sort of made his name a little bit more, wasn't it, at Hyderabad? So if he can show a little bit of that intent, just enjoy the occasion. He's been losing partners left, right and centre at the top of the order. He said last game that's what's held him back, and he finally showed a little more freedom in the previous game. So let's hope that we can sort of see a little bit of David Warner of old.
Yeah, exactly.
Also, I think it's a brave decision, batting first. So he's saying, I'm setting the agenda for the match.
Yeah.
Because if you bat first and you're confident, you can put 200.
We got a number from Deepu the other day. 105 times 200 has been scored. 200 or more has been scored in the first innings of an IPL game. 105 times, okay? Of those 105 times, it's an 85, now 86% winning ratio.
Yeah.
So if you bat first and put 200 on the board, 15%, 14% chance of losing the game. So you bat well. I love batting first. Yesterday, again, I talked about it. Rajasthan, I had to text Sangakkara last night. I had to message him. They do my head in. They are the best bat first side in this competition. The best, hands down, bat first side in this competition. Oh,
with or without Riyan Parag?
We'll have a bowl. We'll have a bowl. It's like, what are you doing, Sanju? Have a bat, put runs on the board. As soon as those guys have no pressure, they are the best side.
But speaking of pressure, Delhi batters will certainly be under pressure despite the fact that they're batting first. Warner has been amongst the runs, but apart from Warner, he hasn't quite found like a partner so far this season. Mitch Marsh was in prolific form before the start of the IPL, had that good series against India. But then in 4 matches, he's delivered scores of 0, 4, 0, 2. Joy, 6 runs in 4 matches. I mean, about time that he comes good, no?
If you follow Cricbuzz for all the while that we've been here, it's called the marriage curse. He's just got married and flown across. So it's, if you pardon me if his cricket may not be the most important thing in his mind right now.
But you would imagine, he gets married after the first couple of games, takes a break, he would come back
recharged. So firstly,
recharged.
Lisa has now petitioned that please all Australian marriages, nothing between April and May. Because normally that's the time Australian players get married. Their season's over, they get married, just before winter. And now it's just, they're coming here and trying to get married. So now Maxwell managed it. His friend Aaron Finch didn't, and it's really unfortunate because I was looking forward to Finchy playing for his 10th team, which never happened.
Yeah.
But marriage, that's it.
Look, it's tough.
But jokes apart, we can talk about Aussie marriages, and I'm sure whenever Lisa comes back, we'll have that discussion with her as well. But he's a quality player. He's played quality knocks for Delhi. And you would expect a senior player, an experienced player, to be delivering a lot more than he has been this season so far.
Absolutely disappointing. The pressure is on. These international players, the big name players, the big money players, the pressure is on to perform. And when you're not performing, he'll know. He'll know that. I mean, he played a really awful shot against Lucknow. Got his poles castled everywhere by Mark Wood. He just hasn't been at his best, and had a little, as you say, he started, then went away, then came back. So a little bit of an interrupted type of season. But he's too good a player to continually fail, but when you continually fail, you have doubts. And as long as those doubts aren't creeping in, he'll be okay, but he needs a score. It's like the Harry Brook thing, first couple of games, same sort of thing. He needed that score, but now he needs another score. When you've got a big price tag and a big international name, you've got to find the way to get those scores.
Also, what's happening is that Delhi, when they started the season, they were looking to have somebody like that Rovman Powell at that number 6 position. What you've now got, because Prithvi has not come off, is they've got exactly what the RCB is doing right now. So you'll have Phil Salt, David Warner, Mitch Marsh right up front. Now these 3 are your big 3. If they don't give it for you, if they don't do it for you, you're in real trouble because the only other batsman who's giving you runs is Axar Patel. And that's a big problem. That anchor, they actually wanted a Rovman Powell or Riley Russo somewhere there at 5 or 6. Somebody who could counter-attack, could finish. But they don't have that luxury because you can finish only when somebody starts.
In fact, it's such a big problem that apart from David Warner and Axar Patel, no Delhi batters even breached the 100-run mark so far this season in the 6 or 7 games that have been played so far. Anyway, we'll take a look at the impact player list from both sides, Delhi as well as Hyderabad. And on Hyderabad side, we've got Nitish Kumar Reddy, Vivran Sharma, Glenn Phillips, Mayank Dagar, Rahul Tripathi, most likely, the last name that you see there, likely to come on in the second innings, and Mukesh Kumar, the most likely to come on in Delhi's side. You guys reckon?
Again, that's what I'm thinking, that, given the situation that they have, it has to be, they look for a bowler, and, Mukesh Kumar is the bowler. If Sakaria gives them something, there's a bit of swing in the air, Sakaria might be a useful play. I like Mukesh Kumar, to be honest with you. I'm impressed by Mukesh Kumar when he's, because of the additional batting, every bowler is getting slaughtered. But I think if you have to look at somebody who's actually doing a little bit out there, it's Mukesh. And I think that's the problem. The problem with this Delhi side is that it just, again, Lalit Yadav was there. Lalit Yadav is no longer there. So that middle order is like, they're playing musical chairs with the middle order. And I don't think that's great. I think Ponting is just searching for something which he can pin down and then hold on to.
How's that dynamic working with Sodov and with Ricky and then all the other Australians? We're going back to Australians again, aren't we? There's a lot of Australians in that mix with Hopes and Watson and Ponting. And that dynamic with Sodov just sort of being there is...
Yeah, it's complicated.
It's a hard one, isn't it? When you've got, two very strong characters will both kind of want, I guess, their say and how it works. And if one says this and it doesn't work, and the other one's going to go, it's going to be a very difficult dynamic, that I think.
See, also what's happening is, remember, there are two sets of dynamics working out here. One is the dynamic of Saurav and Ponting, great personalities, great characters, great winners of the game.
Yeah, absolutely.
And there are two ownerships also. If you look at it, GMR, and there are two ownerships as well, JSW. So, look, I think they did a very good job over the last 3 years to sort of get together and make it happen. My only problem now with the Delhi dressing room is it's too crowded. Like James Hope is a bowling coach, so is Jasjeet Agarkar. Shane Watson is there, so is Praveen Amre. Joydeep Mukherjee is there. There are lots and lots of people out there. Perhaps what happens when there are a lot of people is, who's the guy who takes responsibility?
Yeah, that's it.
So the bowling unit's not working.
It's hard to understand what the dynamics are like behind the scenes.
So who does the
messages.
buck stop with? You see, that clarity goes away when you have a lot of people.
As the cliche goes, too many cooks spoil the broth. And who knows, we might be seeing a case of that. And, not surprising, we've got a Kiwi in the house and we're talking about Aussies in the Delhi setup. We can confirm that Phil Salt, in Prithvi Shaw's absence, Phil Salt will be opening the batting. So Sarfaraz Khan probably slotting in the middle order. Can Salt add some spice to that
batting lineup? We're talking about cooking. You just said cooks and broth and all that sort of stuff. Throw a bit of salt in the mix and you get the perfect combination. I think, as I said, great player. Really, really good player. Very aggressive player. He will take it on. He loves the short ball. He hits very powerfully over long on and mid wicket. Will take the spinners on. So doesn't guarantee success, but I think he's a terrific player and a very good keeper. So so they're getting a very good keeper and a guy who can open the batting and provide that power. And if he can get them off to a good start, it just allows Warner to just play around a little bit and maybe start as he has been. Yeah,
who knows? Salt might just have a spicy impact on that Delhi batting lineup. But speaking of all things spicy, let's take a look at Joy Factor and let's see how spicy today's question of the day is. And Joy says, Joy, I think you can do the honors.
Okay, two former India captains played their last game for their respective franchises in a match in 2013. But neither was the oldest player on the field. Who was? So obviously two franchise captains calling it a day on the same day. Two India captains, national captains have been. So what do we do?
Put on your thinking hats and we'll definitely reveal the answer during a post-match show. But we'll move to an easier guessing game, one that isn't half as mentally challenging and cerebral an affair as Joy Factor is. We'll talk about our predictions. First innings, Delhi batting first in Hyderabad. Dooley, how much do you reckon they'll score?
Pommy said 180. Do I trust Pommy? I can't. Pommy, I do trust you. Normally I do trust you. So I'll go just a touch higher at 187.
187.
I think this is going to be a statement day from David Warner. I'm going to go 205.
205. So I'm not sure if you all will change your predictions, but the news that I hear is that Phil Salt is out, which means Dooley's curse is struck. Less than 20 seconds back, Dooley's like, he's a classic player. You can expect him to perform today.
Sorry, Phil.
Okay. Movie must have got him.
187, 205, right? I simply stand on the shoulders of giants like you. 1 foot on your shoulder, 1 foot on yours, which means I'm going to be bang in the middle. 193 is what I say. But you guys definitely share your predictions as well. I'm going to be very interested, to see which side is more desperate in the first innings to discard the wooden spoon that they have. But regardless of which side it is, we're going to be debating, dissecting, analyzing everything that transpires in the first innings when we're back with Cricbuzz Live at the end of the first innings. Cricbuzz Live, your one-stop shop for all things cricket on digital.
Jaipur via Kota.
कृपया ध्यान आपको अहमदाबाद
दिल्ली में आपका स्वागत.
Lucknow Junction.
ನಿಲ್ದಾಣದ ಕಡೆಗೆ ಹೊರಟಿರುವರೆ
Hyderabad Express পরবর্তী স্টেশন নেতাজি ভবন। कृपया ध्यान दें